Okay, I think I'm live. Hi everybody. Happy Pisces Super New Moon. We're going to dive in here in a second. Just waiting for it to go live. We're a little late here, is having some technical difficulties. And by technical difficulties, I mean the dog eating yet another pair of shoes. We just bought a bunch of new shoes yesterday for Eddie's mom's memorial, which we'll be going to next weekend. And he ate my shoes last night, and he was just about to eat my kids' shoes. And mine were put up high on top of a cat tree, so somebody must have knocked them down. So yeah, it's just kind of like one thing after another over here. All right, it looks like I'm live. All right, let me try to put this up here so I can see the chat. Why is it sideways? Oh, what happened? What's going on? Hold on, guys. Okay, there. All right, so welcome to all of our new members. If you are watching this later on YouTube, hi, welcome. I'm going to release this video on the new moon over on YouTube right now. It's streaming over for Patreon members only. Hi guys, thank you for all of your support. But I am going to release this video on the new moon on YouTube because I have a special announcement. I am finally getting around to starting my YouTube subscriptions. I have the subscription Patreon deal, right, where we do these moon videos and whatnot, but I'm trying to spread out to other platforms in case anything ever happens to one of them. So I'm already here on YouTube, but I'm going to be starting the subscriptions, and I'm going to be doing some videos that are going to be only over here on YouTube, called archetypal analysis, where it's going to be kind of like a real laid back video where I just randomly at some point during the month pull the current chart and we talk about what's going on, and we go wherever it takes us, and I pull some cards and we just go wherever. I want to try to have it be in between moons, in between the new moon and the full moon, or vice versa, maybe both, depending on how the mood strikes me. And then you guys will also, the subscribers on YouTube, and it's going to be a really low cost. Patreon has the option for a really low cost. So not only will you have those videos, but you also have early access videos to a new thing I'm going to be starting. Once the course is done, so it's not going to come out until probably, I'm thinking maybe more the summer I'll start this, so it's coming soon. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I'll try to come up with some catchy name, but pretty much I'm going to try to do a live stream once a week at the same time, maybe Friday nights or Saturday nights, where I just talk about all the weird shit that went down that week. All my stories that I would be posting over on Instagram, we're just going to talk about that over here. So whatever weird shit happens in the world, whatever weird stuff crossed my path that week, we're going to talk about it. Those will eventually be released to the public, but the YouTube subscribers will have first access to that. And then there'll also be a higher tier option if you want to have regular sessions with me. And then you don't have to wait in line. They'll be scheduled every 3 months. You're on the books. You have a session. That option will be available as well. So keep an eye out. It's not available yet. It'll go live on the moon, so it'll go live on the 10th. I'm still figuring it out. But yeah, that's my special announcement. So if you're watching this on the moon, check that out. I don't really know where it's linked or how it works, but hopefully we can figure it out together. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. My mind is very Neptunian right now. We have Mercury conjunct Neptune exact today. It's aspecting it's just My chart is so heavily aspected right now. It's a little mind-blowing, but it's aspecting the hell out of my chart. And my notes are normally very organized, even though I say they're not, they are. And I mean, it's kind of hard to read my writing, and it's written in a lot of symbols, so it takes some decoding. But like normally I have it like all laid out. I don't. This is like the most chaotic notes ever. So chaotic they didn't even make it into my normal notebook. But we're going to go a lot of places, and we're going to go a lot of like Neptunian places. We're going to be talking a lot more about like the myths and the like archetypal undertones of the story, right? Which is very Piscean, very Neptunian. But we're going to go ahead and dive in. Let me share my screen here. Hold on, I have so many things open. You guys, I'm all over the place. I feel like we probably all are because the energy is kind of just like that. We'll get into that as we get into the chart. But yeah. All right, let me share my screen. If you guys are new on Patreon, make sure you check out the post over on Patreon because I'm gonna move my face a little. Let me see how bad this covers up the picture once it goes live on my phone. If you're new, make sure you check out the post over on Patreon. Read it. There's, different things there you need to know, and also some free resources of PDFs that you can download on the 12 houses, and on all the like ins and outs of astrology, the apprentice cheat sheet. Okay, yeah, my face is kind of covering that up quite a lot. Let me just do this. Okay, so what we have here is the thumbnail. We're going to be going a lot of different places here tonight. This is just a couple of them. This is a Pisces super moon. So the moon is extremely close to Earth. Our last Pisces moon, the Pisces full moon, was also a super moon. So we're like back-to-back Pisces super moons. When a moon is super, it means it's really close to Earth. So it seems bigger in our sky. This is a new moon. We won't be able to see it. The sun is in Pisces, so it happens like kind of during the day, right? What was I saying? Pisces super moon. Okay, so when a moon is considered super, it is extremely close to Earth. So it has a stronger effect on our tides. Here, the ocean's tides, which the moon helps to regulate and control. And it also has a stronger effect on our emotional body, on the watery parts of our like human makeup, right? So this is intuition, this is psychic senses. The cats are going bonkers. This is intuition, this is psychic senses, this is the emotional body, the emotional realm, and everything that falls in that watery part of our psyche, the unconscious, the subconscious, the dreamscape, many other things that we're going to talk about as we go on here, right? So everything is very strongly felt. So not only is this a Pisces super moon, it's very close to Earth, it's a new beginning, so seeds are being planted right now, seeds of intention, seeds of manifestation, that are going to culminate 6 months from now at the Pisces full moon. Now, the Pisces full moon that culminates this new moon is actually an eclipse. It's the first eclipse. Oh, I didn't mean to put that one notebook away. I didn't need that. It's the first eclipse of the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle, and it falls on September 17th. So this new moon is guided by fate and destiny and this new like fated story that's on the horizon, right? We're still very much in the thick of the Aries Libra eclipse cycle. This is actually the last new moon before we enter into eclipse season. We'll have Libra eclipse after this moon. After that, it'll be followed by that April 8th Aries eclipse that everybody's talking about. And then 6 months from now, we'll be heading into another eclipse cycle. There'll be another Libra eclipse, but then there'll also be our first eclipse of the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. And this new moon seeds it. So I'm sure you've heard astrologers say that eclipses are these portals of like fate and destiny. It's not really recommended that you like manifest during them, that, you know, the hands of fate and destiny are like conspiring to set you on course to where you're meant to be in these weird sort of synchronistic pushes of fate and change and transformation, right? And this is very much true, but we still have free will, right? We are co-creating with the creator. And this new moon is our chance to kind of, I don't want to say like exert our will upon the situation, because that's not what we're trying to do. That's not really what we're ever trying to do, but to take initiative, plant seeds in whatever area of your life Pisces governs that you want to see grow over the next 6 months. And then know that whatever those seeds are, whatever those intentions are, not only are you going to be growing them like we do every year at a Pisces new moon, but these particular seeds are going to be like supercharged by this super moon, but also by this fate-driven, destiny-driven eclipse cycle. So if you're trying to exert your will upon the situation and manifest things that are not in alignment, like nothing's probably going to come of them. But if you are trying to set things into motion that are in alignment with what it is you came here to do, what it is you came here to be, where it is you came here to show up, the hands of fate, the hands of destiny are going to just propel those seeds forward, helping them to bloom, helping them to grow into something really big and transformative that you can then harvest at the culmination point 6 months from now. So it's a really big moon. Not only is it the final moon of the zodiacal year, I kept saying during the last moon that it was the final moon of the zodiacal year, and I meant full moon. It was the final full moon of the zodiacal year. This is the final new moon of the zodiacal year and the final lunation, right? Before we enter into the equinox and we start a new hero's journey, right? We start a new trek across the zodiac. So this is a culmination of the whole 12 signs. This is a supercharged super moon, and then it's also seeding this next eclipse cycle. It's a really powerful moon, and we're going to talk about it. So this is a couple of the places we are going to go here. I just want to kind of tell you what you're looking at. This is Bellerophon. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. He is one of the heroes of Greek mythology, and he is well known for having slayed the Chimera and riding the Pegasus. This here is Perseus saving Andromeda chained to a rock, holding Medusa's head here, also on the Pegasus. Although, where are the wings? Why are there no wings on that Pegasus? I don't know. Riding a horse without wings, that's supposed to be the Pegasus. Didn't catch that until right now. We're going to be talking a lot about the Pegasus. We're going to be talking about these two mythologies because this moon sits here in the sky. It sits aligned with a couple of different fixed stars, of which we're going to talk about here first before we ever get to the chart. We won't be getting to the chart for a minute. I have some places I want to go. So this moon aligns with a couple of different fixed stars. It aligns with this fixed star here in either the head of the fish or the mouth of the fish, depending on who is telling the story. And it's in the southern fish of Pisces, but there's also like a constellation called the southern fish, which is a separate constellation. This is just the more southern of the two Piscean fishes that are connected by this golden cord here. This is the one that's in the mouth or the eye of the fish. It also aligns with this fixed star here, Merkab, which looks like it's in the wing of the Pegasus here. But it's actually the saddle. It's like on the other side of this wing. This is supposed to be like where the saddle is. So it's known as the saddle of the Pegasus. So we're going to be talking about these here once we get past this slide pretty extensively. Here's another depiction of this area of the sky. It aligns like right about here. So whether you practice sidereal astrology or tropical astrology, in both systems we are in the constellation and the tropical sign of Pisces. And it aligns with this first star here in Pisces, and the wing or the saddle of the Pegasus. So we're going to talk about this here in a second. We're at the end of the zodiac and right on the precipice of the start of the zodiac. We're at that very liminal space between the end and the beginning, which is one and the same, and it is rooted in the primordial, right? And that's what Pisces very much represents, is it represents the whole. It represents the Akasha. It represents the universal solvent, the cosmic womb that births the seed of pure potential that is Aries. Not only this area of the zodiac being the end and the beginning of yet another story, but the mythologies that we're going to talk about here, particularly the mythologies morphing from like one hero to another hero, have a lot to do with this like death and resurrection of the hero, right? Pisces is literally governs endings. Literally, it governs this like symbolic, esoteric death of ego, which is another thing that this myth we're going to touch on here has to do with. Death of ego, death of false persona, death of the parts of ourselves that are ready to die so that we can be resurrected and reborn anew, right? And so this moon is very much that energy of death and resurrection, of like the celestial hero in the sky, but also within you, right? And you want to really look and see, where does Pisces and Aries fall in your chart? Where's that cusp, right? Where is this huge ending and new beginning happening in your chart every year as the zodiac ends and is reborn? For me, it's my 7th house into my 8th house. This is where you will experience in your life like huge transformative endings and beginnings, right? So you want to look and see what houses this fall in. We'll get into a slide here in a second that breaks down the houses, all right? I think I'm just going to read this. We'll elaborate on it as we go, but sometimes I forget to say some of these things, and then I look back later and I'm like, I didn't talk about that one thing. So I'm going to try to remember to come back and look at the slide at the end and make sure I said everything. So yeah, we're in the celestial womb, and we're at that like tail end where this womb is birthing this very faded springtime seed, which is the exact story that the cards I pulled tell, and the exact story that the chart speaks of, right? We're all being reborn, and there are very faded seeds being planted right now that we aren't going to fully understand for really upwards to 2 years as we finish out this eclipse cycle and move into the next one. But 6 months, oh my God, I have no idea what those cats are doing, but it sounds very dangerous. Celestial womb and the springtime seed, all right? So this aligns with the saddle of the Pegasus, right? This is the seat of the hero. This is where the hero sits. Not only does Perseus and Bellephone ride the Pegasus on their heroic quests, which definitely have different endings. Oh my gosh, hold on. What is happening? What are you doing? What is going on in here? Okay, out of the bathroom. At least you're all getting along. They're like literally in the cabinets in the bathroom, but all three of the cats, but at least they're getting along. The dog got banished to the garage with Eddie and the kids. They're out there crafting. Okay, so the seed of the hero, a new quest begins, right? We're at this point in the chart where we're at the end and we're at the beginning, but it's all the same, right? End, begin, all the same. This is a quote from the Dark Crystal. So we're going to be talking about different heroes and their different endings, depending on how that hero's journey plays out, right? And it has a lot to do with the ego of the hero, all right? We're in the waters of rebirth. And, okay, I'm going to talk about this now because this will probably be the thing I forget to talk about. The time changes. The time changes the same day as this Pisces new moon. So I wrote here disorienting time change, psyops, because I believe that the time change is a psyop. But this is in the season of Pisces, which is beyond time, it's beyond space, it's spiritually sublime, it's a place of grace. So Pisces is already this very nebulous, out of time type of archetypal expression. It's multi-dimensional, it's interdimensional, it's dreamy, it's otherworldly. Pisces never knows what time it is. They don't even know what day it is. They don't even know what reality it is that they're in most of the time. So it's already a very disorienting and or spiritually transcendence type of energy, right? And during the equinox, around the equinox every year, these periods of balance, of harmony between yin and yang, light and dark, where we're supposed to have this like a moment of equilibrium, they always seem to hit us with the time change. And it throws off our like whole rhythm, right? And so we definitely have this coming the same time as the new moon, and it is definitely going to be like disorienting, but just tell yourself it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're already in this season that is beyond time, it's beyond space, right? And just lean in maybe to that sort of disorienting type of energy. The mood right now, the vibes right now are very out there, right? So maybe it'll just help throw us even more into our spiritual faculties, which are just online like never before right now, literally like never before in our lifetime, because we have a Neptune there for the first time since literally the 1800s. Okay. All right, we're gonna talk about this all more. I just want to point this out. We're going to talk about this as we get, I guess now, we're going to talk about this now. This is what's known as the Great Square of the Pegasus. It's actually the wing. It's the wing of the Pegasus. Like this is the Pegasus here. And this is the wing of the Pegasus. Now, not a lot of constellations have this. This is actually the only constellation I know of that does this. I don't know of any other. I'm sure there probably is, but I just don't know. But the Pegasus, and this is the constellation of Andromeda right here. They actually share a star. This is that star right here. It is both part of the wing of the Pegasus as well as the neck of Andromeda, and their myths are intertwined. So that's what we're going to kind of get into here now. But first, I want you guys to figure out where this is in your chart. So go ahead and pull your chart, and I want you to look and see where Pisces falls in your chart. What house does this fall in? This is the house that is being very strongly activated right now by Pisces season and by this Pisces new moon. This is where you're able to plant new seeds that are going to culminate 6 months from now at that Pisces eclipse. All right. This is also the area of your life you're going to experience really fated, destined changes and shifts when we enter into the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle later this year. Okay. So you want to look and see, what house does Pisces fall in? For me, it is my 7th house of relationships, marriage, contracts, business partnerships, which is why I thought it would be a good time to launch a subscription service over on YouTube, because it's that relational business dynamic. You want to look and see, do you have any planets near 20 degrees of Pisces or any one of the other mutable signs? All right, this is Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius. If you have any planets near 20 degrees of those mutable signs, then those houses, whatever house those signs fall in, and those planets are being very strongly aspected by this moon. If you know where yours is and you want to write it in the chat, if you're here live, feel free. I'll see what comes to mind. But yeah, we'll get to the chart here in a little bit. I want to really dive into these stars. I have a whole bunch of random notes, so I'm just gonna go with it. All right, so not only does this moon align with both the star here in like the saddle of the Pegasus and the mouth of the fish, but if you go all the way down here farther, I could not find a picture. I tried every stellarium I have, and I just could not get it to go down south enough to get a picture of the end of this river. This here is what I call the Mystic River. Eridanus, Eridanus. I don't know how to pronounce that. I call it the Mystic River. It is a massive constellation that runs all the way from Gemini, particularly from Orion, which is in Gemini, all the way to Pisces, 15 degrees of Pisces. That's what's known as the mouth of the river, the mouth of the Mystic River. So this moon falls right after that mouth of this Mystic River, aligned with the mouth of the fish and the saddle of this very mythical beast that helps heroes on their heroic quests. I'm just marking things off as I say it because my notes are so chaotic. I will literally never finish everything. I will not say everything. Okay, so this fixed star here, Merkab, depending on who you are reading from, this can either be a horrible star or an amazing star. Usually the men see it in a negative light and women will see it in a more positive light. Telly, I don't know how to pronounce that, but she says Pisces is in her 8th. Ooh, girl, you're going to be very psychically activated during this. I'm just about to switch banks because mine had just announced that it's closing all branches and going digital. What bank is that? So much weird banking stuff is going to be happening, you guys, over the coming months, particularly once we get to April. I'm expecting there to be just something crazy. What bank is doing that? But yes, the 8th house is about banking and your money mixing with other people's money, and taxes and financial matters like that. So it makes total sense to start a new chapter. And then it's very Piscean. Neptune's there. Neptune dissolves. So it dissolved that previous system, and now you're going to be entering into a new one. Wow, that's crazy. Yep, that really makes a lot of sense though. Okay. So this fixed star here, Merkab, right? This falls at 23 degrees of Pisces. The moon falls at 20 degrees. So this is one of the closest stars to a conjunction with this lunation. The one actually closest is this star here in the fish. It's called, you guys, I don't know how to pronounce this. We're just going to go over here. Best resource online, the best free resource for fixed star information, degrees of the tropical zodiac. When it comes to fixed stars, it is the best. So this is the page for Pisces. This fixed star right here falls at 18 degrees. This one is actually the one most closely aligned with the moon at 21 degrees, but they don't have information on it. This one, however, they do. Your guess is as good as mine. Fumal, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. This is the name of the fixed star. Falls here. And you guys can come and read this if you want. I don't really want to get too far into this fish one. You want to read a little bit about Pisces in general from Bernadette Brady, but you guys can go ahead and come and read this. I am not always a big fan of all the humdrum interpretations of the star, but it definitely, in my opinion, the Piscean fish pointed more south towards the ecliptic. Like this one is pointing up towards like the pole star. This one is pointing more down, right? Now these are the two fish of Pisces. One is light, one is dark, one is yin, one is yang, and they are tied by this golden cord with a knot in the middle. In the Greek myths, these are Aphrodite and Eros, or Venus and Cupid, mother and son, and they tied themselves by this string so they would not get lost when they were in the river. Let's go ahead and read a little bit about Pisces from this book on Bernadette, from Bernadette Brady. We have done this before, but it's so good. I was reading it earlier and I was like, I want to read this again. It's the last one. All right, the Pisces fish. All right. What'd you say here? Yeah, Neptune dissolves things. Oh, it's a true north witch. Hi, Sophia. Okay, so do I want to read this whole thing? Okay, I'm pretty sure we read this in the last Pisces video. You guys can go and read it, all right? Pisces represents the unconscious, the collective unconscious, and these represent the two aspects of it, right? And so this fish is pointed more down. It has a lot more to do with the nitty-gritty, with the underworld, with the hidden, with the more spiritual aspects of, I would presume, the dark side of the spiritual dimension of Pisces, which is of course the realm of the goddess or the unconscious or the psychic dimension, as opposed to the realm of the conscious dimension, if that kind of makes sense. Oh girl, I don't know if I told you about this book, but this is by far my favorite book. We're about to read the page on the Pegasus right now. This is, of all my fixed star books, which I probably own, I don't know, too many, I have no idea. This is the best book. This is Brady's book of fixed stars. It's the big one. I have both her books. I have the star and planet combinations too. It's good, but this one is better. Very, very, very good. We've referenced it like a million times, and we will continue to do so. Okay. So the star is sometimes referred to as a star of sorrow, and it is, which we're in Pisces season conjunct Neptune, like we are definitely, and it's a super moon, we are definitely processing sorrow and core emotions. It is also said to have maybe like a negative or challenging dynamic to it, particularly when you look at more like traditional fixed star astrological interpretations. But you guys know I love Bernadette Brady. So we're gonna read a little bit from her because she always has such an evolved, just intuitive lens to it that you cannot find anywhere else. You need to buy this book. Absolutely, Sophia, you need to buy this book. It is by far my favorite fixed star book. And even for the zodiac, even for the 12 signs, I've learned more from this book than any other book, I swear. Okay, the mouth of the fish, the head of the fish, the saddle. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, let's read a little bit about the Pegasus. Okay. So horses were a part of the transition that led from the hunter-gatherer, the Paleolithic, to the cultivating Neolithic village. They earned their place in the sky because they were the central theme of many cultures, from as early as 12,000 BC to only around 100 years ago. It is only in recent times that the human race has started to let go of its obsession with the horse. Little is known of the origin of the horse symbolism in the sky, but in Celtic mythology, the horse was the most sacred animal and entrusted only to the goddess. The Celts developed a form of bridle and chariot, and the speed of one's chariot was the measure of one's worth. Men warred with horses and chariots, but the goddess protected and ruled over them. Morris dancers' traditional horse head stick or hobby horse, symbolizing the ride of the goddess on the white horse, also known as the ride of Lady Godiva, is a simple example of the horse and goddess mythology still visible in 20th century and Celtic English society. I want to also point out that the star is called Markab. Okay, so this is very similar etymologically. Hopefully that's a word. Hopefully I said that word right. Etymologically to the word Merkaba, which is, so Merkab here is a strong etymological cousin to the word Merkaba, which is a Hebrew word that means different things depending on the translation. It can either mean returning from afar, or it means chariot, or a thing to ride in, or a cart. And you'll see the Merkaba in a lot of Jewish mysticism or other more New Age spiritual practices, being the union of two pyramidal structures, right? One being the feminine, one being the feminine, one being the masculine, and them uniting together, and that being this sort of energy chariot, energy field that we ride here as human beings. That is our energy body, right? And it can be developed and used like a spaceship or a chariot to help you to ascend to higher levels of consciousness, right? Much like a Pegasus can help you to ascend to higher levels of consciousness. But as we get into the myth, we'll see that there's a certain level, you can't fly too high or you will die. That's what I wrote here. You can't fly too high or you will die. Well, we'll get to that here in a second. But this word Merkab has a strong connection to horses and chariots, including the energetic chariot that your soul is riding here in this incarnation, the Merkaba, right? Which we see kind of depicted here by these fish. These fish are the yin, the yang, the light, the dark, the upper pyramid, the lower pyramid. They are the Merkaba. And this knot here in this golden thread, this 0 point, is the union of those two. That is that source point in between, right? Okay. All right, so as I was saying, the Pegasus emerges from the neck of Andromeda. So if you ever heard me talk about the Andromeda Medusa mythology, if you are a client of mine and you have these in your chart, or if you have watched any of my Patreon videos in the past, we have talked about this myth significantly. Medusa and Andromeda, in my opinion, are the same figure, just like I believe all of mythology is aspects of you, right? We are Perseus, we are Andromeda, we are Medusa. These are all aspects of us. And they all are intertwined. The whole story together tells the narrative, right? So we see here in the sky that Pegasus emerges from the neck of Andromeda. Well, in the myth, he actually emerges from the neck of Medusa. So it goes on to say that only half of the Pegasus, even though it looks like a whole horse here, it actually looks like a horse, only half of the Pegasus is in the sky. It's like its torso. It's his front legs and wings. This symbolizes speed, and as well as his back and his chest. This is said to be the seat, right? 4 stars make up the great square, which forms the body and the head of the winged horse. The Greeks pictured him as being born from Medusa's neck at the time that he was slayed by Perseus. Atreus called this constellation divine, for indeed to the prehistoric world, the domestication of the horse must have seemed like a gift from the gods. Pegasus is not the only horse in the sky. Next to him is the constellation of the Little Horse. I don't know if you see it here in either of these star charts. It's like right here. But one senses that Pegasus could have meanings in addition to the domestication of the horse. For Pegasus forms a great square in the sky. The world was also being divided into 4 via the movement of the sun on its journey through the seasons, the 2 equinoxes, and the 2 solstices. This number 4 was reflected in the view of the earth as a table floating on a great sea with the North Pole star above it and the South Pole below it. This is the table that Zeus, in a fit of rage, slammed with his fist and tilted. Emerging from this, 4 natural points on the solar year were the 4 compass points and the division of the world into 4 sections. Squareness was probably one of the earliest religious and philosophical concepts our ancestors developed as they emerged from the circumpolar goddess religions that are much more ancient. And with the fading of the goddess and the emerging of the god, the square, or rather the 4-sided figure, became increasingly important. It's interesting that they call this area of the sky the Great Square of Pegasus, and they call this fish here that is activated the circlet. It looks like a little circle, right? And in like esoteric symbolism, the square is always associated with the masculine principle, and the circle is always associated with the womb or the feminine principle. So a square, or a golden mean, was used by the Celts to build Newgrange, to signify a year. The actual symbol of a square or rectangle signified that a group had knowledge of the year and was proudly chiseled in stone over the light box at Newgrange in Ireland. By the time, oh my God, my eyes are so bad, I need like a card here. Okay. By the time of the ingress of the equinox into Aries, the developing monotheistic religions built their theologies around this number. The Hebrew God of the Old Testament and the God of the Magi and the Kabbalah, the all manifesting, full of action and wrath God, is known by this number. In astrology, the 4th harmonic The square aspect derives its expression of action and speed from this Old Testament god. Pegasus is also known as the Aiku star, which was the measure used in building the perfect cubed ark of Babylonian mythology for like their flood myth. Thus, the Pegasus can be linked with the great magical square and the mythological, theological concepts of the four. At the very least, it is associated with focused action and ability, while also indicating knowledge and learning and the emerging worldview of science. Okay, now this star, Merkab, which is closely aligned. Hi, Amanda. Amanda's like, she's over there literally as the cosmic womb right now, gestating her spring seed that's right around the corner. Amanda, I'm so excited for you. I'm happy you're here. Okay, Merkab. This is what Bernadette Brady has to say about this star, and you will see why she is so, I just love her, all right? Like, literally, if you look up this star, you'll see that it brings sorrow and violence, and there was one other thing that just sounded horrible. And it's like the Pegasus myth is really beautiful. I don't really know where they get a lot of these interpretations from, but I know they come from a much more ancient time period where astrology was only for the elite. They were only for the kings. They were only for the priestly class. And the only thing they really cared about was war and fame and riches and not getting like beheaded or besieged, right? And so there is no depth in a lot of that ancient tradition. And that's why we as astrologers, many of you guys here in the chat right now are practicing astrologers. That is why we as astrologers, we have to dive into these myths for ourselves, and we need to figure out what the language of symbolism is saying to us personally, right? Okay, so Merkab, the concept. Merkab was seen as the saddle, that which can be ridden, the anchor point from which one can move. So keep this in mind when setting your intentions. You are in a saddle that is going to move you into this fated, destined eclipse season. This moon culminates in an eclipse. So this is your saddle for that eclipse, right? Merkab was seen as a saddle, that which can be ridden, an anchor point from which one can move. The point of steadiness on a moving object. This star may therefore relate to such steadiness in a person. This seems to be the case with the chariot of astronaut Neil Armstrong. On the day he was born, Merkab culminated as his Saturn set. Neil Armstrong was chosen for his historic mission to the moon because of his steady character. He was, so to speak, the saddle upon which the world sat as humankind traveled to and walked upon the moon. The Saturnian involvement indicates that this is his life's work and is how he will be remembered in history. Or he was just the saddle for the psyop to sit upon. Anyway, Isaac Newton, the 7th century English mathematician whose work moved the fields of mathematics beyond Greek thought and is considered to have laid the foundation for modern physics and mathematics, was born with the star culminating as his sun set. Linking this with his connection to the star Thuban in Draco, which is discussed in a different chapter, we can start to understand how the great treasure that the Draco guards, the dragon guards, can in some way build a foundation for larger things, Merkab, because it's sitting in that saddle moving forward into something bigger, something better, in his chart particularly. Okay, so when the star is aspecting your chart, or in this case, this chart, it is said when Merkab is placed in a chart, when Merkab is placed in your chart, you have as a resource the ability to maintain stability under pressure, to be solid and tangible. Now, we're in the depths of the intangible realm, but we have Saturn here also helping to give us stability, helping us to build something that will last, helping us to bring into the tangible realm, the intangible realm of Pisces, and do something practical and tangible and real worldly with it. This may act as a restricting force on you, or it can be a great asset. Okay? So, I want to talk a little bit about the mythology tied to the Pegasus, all right? Yep, discovering and rewriting the associations for ourselves. Absolutely, absolutely, Sophia. Okay, so the Pegasus is used in a World War II emblem for the UK Air Force. And it was brought back in 2015, so it's still used to this day. So I don't know if maybe we should keep an eye on the UK military involvement in the ongoing wars, but maybe we can keep an eye on them because it's symbolically entangled in their Air Force. But I want to talk about the mythology tied to the Pegasus. If you're familiar with my work, perhaps you are familiar with the Perseus mythology. We've talked about it extensively. It is my go-to myth for the Pegasus. But there are other heroes that are known to have rode the Pegasus, who I'm not as familiar with. And what is so strange is that Eddie was just talking to me about this guy the other day. And this literally falls in my 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and marriage. And he was like, Bellaphone. And I was like, who? Bellaphone. Yeah, that's how you say it. Bellaphone. I was like, who? Who the fuck? What are you talking about? He's like, the guy who rode the Pegasus. I was like, Perseus? He was like, no, the other guy who rode the Pegasus. The one who killed the Chimera. I was like, I thought Perseus killed the Chimera. And he was like, no, it's Bellaphone. I was like, okay. And I let it go. This was just a couple weeks ago. And then today, diving into the myth, I was like, oh yeah, the Bellaphone. And so I dove into that myth, and we're going to break it down here right now because I find it extremely interesting. And we'll come back to this Pisces star here. All right, so I guess maybe we should do the Perseus myth first because that is how the Pegasus was born. Maybe we should do the Perseus myth first. So long. I've said this myth so many times. All right, we're going to do it anyway. All right, so the Pegasus is born from the neck of Medusa, all right? Medusa, before she was a Gorgon, before she was a monster, she was a priestess, and she was devoted to the goddess Athena. And Athena, because she was born from Zeus's head, she was born from the head of a man, she doesn't really have a strong connection to the dark goddess aspects or the feminine parts of her psyche. She is rooted in the patriarchal godhead, right? And one day Medusa, who is just this beautiful maiden priestess, she was taken advantage of in Athena's temple by Poseidon, the god of the sea. And Athena came in and she was really pissed off. And she decided to turn Medusa into a Gorgon. Now, there's different people will give you different reasons as to why she did this. Some people say she was protecting her or whatnot. I honestly think she did this because she could not process that deep core feminine wound. And so she had to turn her into a monster and a shadow and kind of shun her to the nether reaches of her psyche, to the cave, where Medusa lived for a really long time, turning people to stone. If you ever looked at her, you get turned to stone. Some people say this was Athena's way of protecting her so no man could ever look at her again. But I call bullshit because no man, woman, or child could ever look at her again because Athena couldn't and wouldn't look at her. And so Medusa, sometimes chalked up as this like demon gorgon monster. She's not a monster. She is a violated, traumatized woman who is not able to process that core wound because the deity that she devoted her life to literally couldn't do that. So Medusa's in the cave for a really long time, and she's turning people to stone, right? And then Perseus here, one of the main heroes in Greek mythology, he comes to save her. In my opinion, he saves her. He is really trying to save his own mother, who was kidnapped by a king and is trying to be forced into marriage. This is all about the dominating and the repressing of the feminine parts of our psyche, right? And so this king is trying to force Perseus's mom into marriage, and he's like, yo, evil king dude, can I please have my mom back? And the evil king dude is like, no. But if you go defeat the Gorgon Medusa, this is her head right here, if you go defeat this monster, like, I'll give you your mom back. And he thinks he's sending him to his death because legitimately anybody who's ever tried to kill Medusa has died, because you look at her, you get turned to stone. But Perseus is a demigod. He's part divine himself. He doesn't know this at the time. He learns this on his journey, on his hero's journey, on his quest. And he has a lot of help from the pantheon. Athena gives him this shield. And he uses the shield when he gets to the cave as a mirror to reflect and process and integrate what Athena couldn't reflect, process, and integrate to begin with. And he uses it to like look around corners, navigate the labyrinth of the cave system, see Medusa, and sever her head, all right, which he's holding right here. Now, ever since that encounter with Poseidon in the temple, Medusa had been pregnant, but because she was a monster, she could not give birth. But apparently once her head was chopped off, then she could. And she didn't really give birth to a baby. What she gave birth to was the Pegasus. Sometimes they say that the Pegasus had a twin brother that was like this winged boar. We've talked about that in a previous video. And then Perseus takes the severed head, takes the flying horse, flying home to save his mom. He sees Andromeda, the chained woman, chained to a rock as a sacrifice, chained to a rock by her parents as a sacrifice to the sea serpent of Poseidon, the same guy who did that shit to Medusa. And he uses this head of Medusa to turn that sea serpent to stone. You can kind of see it right here. This is Cetus, the sea serpent. Here is Andromeda. Here is the Pegasus. What's his name? Perseus is over here. And he turns the sea serpent to stone, sending it down to the depths from which it came. He breaks the chains that bind Andromeda, and they fly off into the sunset, and they live happily ever after. Okay? Well, before Perseus, so this is the story for how the Pegasus was born, but it's a later myth. An older myth about the Pegasus that doesn't necessarily speak about its birth is tied to this Bellerophon guy. Okay? So Bellerophon either means horse knower or the slayer of Belleros, which is I wrote literally this whole myth down. We're gonna go so many places. Okay, so Belleros was this like noble guy. So originally his name was Hipponos, which means knower of horses. But then after he killed this noble named Belleros, then he became Bellerophon, which means killer of Belleros. It's just some noble guy. So he is the divine Corinthian hero. He, just like the Pegasus, is the son of Poseidon, except for he is the son of a mortal and Poseidon. I mean, Medusa was a mortal as well too, but I think this one was at least somewhat consensual. He is known as the greatest hero and slayer of monsters, alongside Perseus before the days of Hercules. So he is most well known for his killing of the Chimera. The Iliad in the Iliad. So he killed the chimera in the Iliad. A monster that Homer depicted with the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. It's very similar to the image of the demiurge, or a lot of these images for the animalistic, egoic part of our psyche, that which we are trying to slay so that we can rise above, right? This chimera was a she, and she was said to breathe fire, which came out in terrible blasts of burning flame. So he killed that Bellerose guy, right? And so then, to atone for his crime, he makes a plea to the king. So Eddie was telling me this part, and I looked it up because I didn't know this. Have you guys ever heard of a bellaphonic message? A bellaphonic message? That's where the saying, don't kill the messenger, comes from, apparently. And it comes from this guy's myth. So after he killed this nobleman, he went to the king, and he pleaded to the king. And he was like, I'm sorry I killed this dude. And he was like, it's okay. You're cleansed of your crime. And then, after being cleansed of the crime, the king's wife tried to make a pass on this Bellerose guy. And the Bellerose dude was like, rejected her. He was like, nah, I just got cleansed of my crimes. I ain't trying to get in trouble with you. And she got all offended. And she was like, that's fucked up. And so she accused him of making a pass at her. And then she told the king. And the king got pissed. But he wasn't going to just kill him because Bellerose was protected by the goddess Xena. Xena is the goddess of hospitality and friendship. And this guy was like a guest in his kingdom. And so he didn't want to offend Xena. So he didn't want to just straight up kill him. But he still wanted the dude dead for fucking with his wife. So instead he decides to like exile him to his father-in-law, who's also a king, to his kingdom with a message. But he gives him this message in this like tablet, and he's like, you need to deliver this message, but like don't read it. And he's like, okay. And so he goes, he delivers the message, and he gives it to the king. And the message says, please remove this bearer, this messenger from the world. He attempted to violate my wife and your daughter. But the problem is, when he got there to see the king didn't open the tablet. The king instead feasted with him for like 9 days before he opened it. And by the time he opened the letter, him and Bellerose were like buddies, right? So he opened the tablet and he sees this letter, this message, and he also feared the wrath of the gods, particularly the goddesses of vengeance, because he was a guest. He didn't want to offend the gods by killing this guest. So instead, he sent him on a quest that he thought would kill him, much like Perseus got sent on the quest to kill Medusa, thinking it would kill him. Bellerose gets sent to kill the Chimera, thinking it would kill him, all right? So he goes out on this quest to kill the Chimera, which was deemed impossible to survive. On the way there, he saw a famous Corinthian fortune teller who gave him advice. He said, to be victorious, he would need the mythical Pegasus. So he had to go capture the Pegasus before he could go and kill the Chimera. So the psychic said to go sleep in Athena's temple. So Athena is involved in both these myths. These are just iterations of the same myth. This one came more during the classical period. This one's more ancient, apparently. Okay. So the psychic was like, yo, you gotta go sleep in Athena's temple and have a dream. And he dreamed that Athena would set this gold bridle for the horse next to him. And she set it next to him in the dream, and she said, sleepest thou, prince of the house of Attilos, which is one of the main 4 tribes of Greece. Take this charm for the steed. And in the dream, he also learned, we're in Pisces, the season of the dream, the season of the psychic. Like, this myth is so perfect, you guys. So in this dream, he also learned that he has to go up to the Pegasus while it's drinking from a well in order to capture it. The Pegasus is said to be tied to springs and wells and water sources, and it's said that everywhere its hooves touch, a spring pops up. Very Piscean, right? So he has to go find the Pegasus at a well. Okay, so the psychic, he then asks the psychic, he's like, yo, I gotta go find this Pegasus at a well, and the psychic tells him which well to go to, which just so happens to be at the city of his birth. So he's returning back to this well of his birth. This has a lot to do with rebirth. This has a lot to do with returning to your origins, returning to your mother, returning to the beginning, right? So he goes to the city of his birth, and he sees the Pegasus drinking at a well, and he mounts him and he tames him, and then he flies off to go and slay the Chimera. Now, while he was fighting the Chimera, he couldn't harm it at all. Not even while flying on the Pegasus. Like, no matter what he did, he couldn't, like, stab it or harm it. He ended up falling off of the Pegasus, and then he got an idea. He was like, oh, I have an idea. I can't harm it, but I can make it harm itself. And so he takes this giant rock of lead, and he sticks it on the end of his spear, and then he charges towards the Chimera, and the Chimera, like, opens its mouth, and he shoves that lead rock in its mouth, and he, like, blocks its throat, and then it goes to breathe fire, and that lead rock melts, and it, like, suffocates him, and it asphyxiates him, and he defeats the Chimera. So then he goes back to the king, and he was like, okay, I finished the quest, and the king was like, I don't believe you. So he sends him on a whole bunch of other quests, like all these side quests, and then he's passing all these side quests, and he's getting very hubris, right? His ego is growing. He's like, man, I am just like the best hero of Greek mythology. I killed the fucking Chimera, dude. Nobody thought that was possible. I may as well be a god. And so he decides that he is going to fly up to Mount Olympus, and he's just going to show up to the realm of the gods and be like, hey guys, I'm home. I'm one of you now. And the gods are like, yeah, bro, that's not going to happen. And so he's flying up with the Pegasus, and his fame grew so much, and his ego grew, and his pride, right? And Pisces season is all about the death of ego. It's an ego death. In order for you to start anew and afresh, with a new lens, a new perspective in the spring. And this is the story of his ego death, right? He flew too high that he died. Like, so he's flying, and Zeus is like, yeah, bro, that's not going to work for me. And so he sent, I don't really know what it is, some weird creature that I've never heard of before to come and sting the Pegasus and make them fall. Some myths say they both fell to their death. Some myths say that only he fell to his death, and then the Pegasus got to go live on Mount Olympus, and kind of help Zeus take his thunderbolts back and forth. But there's two main endings to this myth, and they tell two totally different stories. So he thinks he can become a god because he killed the Chimera, right? And so he flies up to Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. Now, the first ending is that Zeus sent this thing to attack him, to attack the Pegasus. He fell to his death, but the Pegasus stayed to deliver the thunderbolts. He fell, the ego died. And then this celestial hero was then reborn as Perseus in the mythological mind of humanity. We'll get there in a second. Now, the other story is much more tragic. Oh my gosh. So he fell, and then he was blinded because he fell in a thorn bush, but he didn't die. And instead, he lived out his life in misery, quote, devouring his own soul until the day he finally died of old age. And so these two myths tell the trajectory of the hero if they do not let the ego die, right? Pisces is the sign of the death of our ego and the transcendence of it into our more like spiritually, psychically activated, aligned with the divine self. Or it could be the house and the sign of our own undoing, the house of misery and devouring of our own soul, right? So in one narrative, he fell, he died, right? And then this myth was picked up by Perseus, which has a much happier ending. Him and Andromeda live happily ever after. They have a bunch of kids, and it's about union. It is about breaking the chains that bind us. Perseus does not think he should become a god. He does not fly up with this ego to Mount Olympus, right? And so there's the death of the ego and the rise and the reborn of the self, or there is the not death of the ego and instead living out your life in fucking misery, devouring your own soul, right? So I wrote here fall. Pisces is literally the sign of the fall. It is the sign of the flood. It is the sign of the ending. It is a sign of letting go and giving way to the cosmic womb, to the realm of faith, to the realm of belief, to the dreamscape, to the mutable energy, to that flowing river. In this river, which here you cannot see very good, but that long river, a lot of times in star charts, you'll see like literally a human floating down it and some fish, right? We're floating with it. We're letting go in order to be reborn anew in the spring, okay? So wait, there's more. So Perseus then becomes kind of like the replacement to Bellerophon when it comes to Bellerophon, when it comes to the Pegasus myth. But even though he is much more familiar to us, like culturally, and like the modern culture, he's actually more of a development of classical times, which wasn't standardized until the Middle Ages. And then was adopted by Renaissance poets, and continues to this day through like film and media. Perseus is our go-to when it comes to the Pegasus. We even see this in the sky. There are many constellations which all are next to each other here in the sky that all tell this myth. We have the Pegasus, we have Andromeda, we have Perseus, we have Andromeda's parents, the king and queen, up by the pole star. And then we have the sea monster here, Cetus. This all tells the story, and it tells the later story of Perseus, rather than the original story of Bellerophon. So he is the tamer, the original tamer and writer of the Pegasus, and then later Perseus is said to take that kind of title in our mythic mind, right? It's the story we now see in our stars. It was reborn within the collective mind, and it has a much more beautiful ending. And Perseus and Andromeda are the like great grandparents of Hercules. So Hercules is a descendant of both Perseus and Andromeda. And Hercules is the later hero of Greek myths, tied to the 12 labors, which is a symbolic representation of the 12 zodiac signs and the hero's journey throughout the year. And Hercules is born of the union of Perseus and Andromeda. Perseus and Andromeda have 5 kids. One of those kids is Hercules' grandfather. Okay, you guys, I went so deep in this myth. I didn't know anything about it until today. Okay, so, well, this guy tries to fly up to Mount Olympus because his head gets so big, and then he falls, hopefully to his death, if not to his lifelong misery and blinded turmoil. Perseus, on the other hand, lives a long life. Most of the heroes, even Hercules, has some gnarly shit goes down. It is not a happy ending for Hercules. But Perseus and Andromeda, they have a happy ending. Perseus and Andromeda's myth is the knight, maiden, dragon motifs that we see later in the Middle Ages. Perseus is the first incarnation of that, and it is where we get this like happily ever after. Perseus and Andromeda both die of old age. They have a long life, which is very rare in Greek mythology, and much of that life Perseus is spent ruling a kingdom. He doesn't need to be a god up on Mount Olympus. He is ruling his own kingdom here on Earth, right? Andromeda also lived a very long life, his divine partner. She was considered a mortal goddess, because she was a human. But later she was placed, both Perseus and Andromeda were placed in the sky by Athena. And in doing so, she made them both immortal. So while Perseus was trying to become a god because he just decided he had made it to that point and it was just time for him to fly up to the steps of Mount Olympus and be welcomed by the gods, and then he fell to his death, Perseus and Andromeda, they united here on Earth through that divine fated union. Their mythology is all about love and union, as are these stars of Pisces. This is the goddess Aphrodite and her son Eros. They are about love. They are about desire. They are about passion, right? So while he thought it was time for him to be immortal and fly up there and just take his seat upon the gods, Andromeda and Perseus lived their life here from a heart-centered space. They ruled their kingdom, they had their kids, they had their grandkids, and when they got to the end of their life, after living a long, healthy, happy life, the gods placed them up in the sky, making them forever immortal. Okay? So there are different heroes, different endings, right? So if the Pegasus was never born from Medusa's head, if Medusa's head was never severed and the Pegasus was never born, there would be no Andromeda, the maiden. Andromeda is the chained maiden. She would have been sacrificed to the sea serpent and she would have been dead. This is all about the saving and the liberating of the feminine parts of our consciousness. The Chimera myth is a lot about slaying the monster, and the Perseus myth has a lot of alchemical motifs to it, where Medusa's head was alchemized into the Pegasus, which transports him to his divine partner, where he unites with Andromeda, breaks the chains that bind her, and then uses that head to turn the sea serpent to stone, alchemize it into stone, and then they fly off into the sunset and live happily ever after. It's alchemical in nature, as it should be, and it alchemizes the repressed feminine parts of our psyche. Not only would there be no Andromeda if it weren't for the Pegasus, but there also would be no Hercules, and therefore no 12 labors, and therefore no zodiac, because Hercules is born of the union of Perseus and Andromeda. So his birth saved Andromeda, and his birth gave way to one of the main heroes of the Greek pantheon. Okay. So the Bellerophonic message. You guys ever heard of that? I had never heard of that shit until today. Okay, so another thing I want to point out here is that there are not really any bright stars in the Pisces constellation. Even the star we're talking about here, in the mouth of the fish is not very bright. You can't see it. The brightest star is Alrisha, which is the knot of the cord. And this falls at 29 degrees of Aries. All right, so hold on, look. Let me show you this. Okay, so this is the degrees of the tropical zodiac where the stars of Pisces fall. The first star of Pisces falls at 18 degrees of tropical Pisces, and the last one, this it glitched. The last one, this Alrisha, falls at 29 degrees of Aries. All right, this is like 42 degrees of the zodiac that Pisces governs. The stars of Pisces govern like literally all of Aries and several degrees into tropical Pisces. And this main star, the knot of the cord of Pisces, falls at 29 degrees of Aries. All right, this is the knot in the united cords of the fishes, and this aligns with the Andromeda vertex. All right, so the Perseus myth is all about the union of him and Andromeda. All right, and we see that in the myth, and we also see that in the astronomy. The Andromeda galaxy, which the center of the Andromeda galaxy, the black hole, aligns with this knot here in the center of the Pisces fish, which is where Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is right now. This knot aligns with the center of the Andromeda galaxy, the black hole at the center of the Andromeda galaxy. The Andromeda galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy are literally shooting towards each other in space. Their outer gases have already started to merge, and in 4.5 billion years, their black holes are going to collide, they are going to merge, and they are going to create a super galaxy. As above, so below. The myths, the astronomy tell the same fucking story. It's about union. This knot here is about union between these two fishes, and this aligns with the center of the black hole that our galaxy will one day unite with through a zodiacal degree. And right now, Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is conjunct this point. And today, Mercury, the mind, the messenger, the realm of information, is conjuncted as well, which is probably why we're talking about it. Okay. No bright stars, Alrisha, the knot, 29 degrees, the vertex. So this area of the sky is all about love, all right? And Venus, the planet of love, the planet of relationship dynamics, enters Pisces, the realm where it is considered exalted. Every planet has a sign where it really, really, really likes to be, even more so than the signs that it traditionally rules. Venus traditionally rules Taurus and Libra, but it's considered exalted in Pisces. Venus, that planet of love, is able to express its higher archetypal expression while in Pisces, that spiritual love, that higher love. And the day after this moon, it moves into Pisces. So the realm of relationships, the realm of others, relationship with the divine, relationships with those in your life, relationship with your chariot, your Merkaba, that saddle with which you ride, the ride of reality or unreality, since we're in Pisces. All of this is being aspected by this moon. Okay. Don't fly too high, you will die. I can't believe I read that. So funny. Okay, so I think we talked about this whole myth here. And the only thing left we have to do is dive into the aspects and stuff. Okay. Okay, I did want to read just a little bit from Surlot's Dictionary of Symbols on the Pegasus. It's short. It's a lot of times these are long, but this one's short. So this is the symbolism of the Pegasus. it says Pegasus, a winged horse which sprang from the blood of Medusa. Now that head of Medusa, after it saved Andromeda, his divine partner, it was then given to Athena. And then it got given to Asclepius or Ophiuchus, the healer of Greek mythology. And the blood that runs through one side of her is considered healing and the other side is considered poison. It is this blood that he used to do a bunch of his healing arts. It was the head of Medusa. So not only did Medusa save Perseus's mother, her head saved Perseus's mother. If I ever get turned into a Gorgon, I tell my clients this all the time whenever I'm telling them this story. If I ever get turned into a Gorgon, somebody come chop off my head. In my opinion, he saved Medusa by chopping off her head, letting her ascend to the stars. He saved his mother. He saved Andromeda, all with Medusa's head. Medusa really being the true savior. And then that blood then went on to the healer of Greek pantheon, and that blood was then used to save countless. So this winged horse which sprang from the blood of Medusa, the Gorgon, when Perseus cut off her head with the aid of magical weapons given to him by the gods. Bellerophon rode upon the Pegasus in his fight with the Chimera. A similar being finds its way into medieval legends under the name of the Hippogriff. It symbolizes the heightening power of the natural forces, the innate capacity for spiritualization, and for inverting evil into good. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Here's a little bit more on the houses. So you want to look and see what house this falls in for you. Look at the PDFs that I have linked over on Patreon. And then here's a little bit deeper look. You can take a screenshot, reference back to this. I like this one because it has the little mantra for each sign and house. The first house, I am. The second house, I have. The third house, I think, and so forth, all the way to I dream, Pisces. So look and see what house this is activating in your chart and think about what you're in that saddle, right? You are in that saddle. The culmination of this falls at 25 degrees of Pisces, in a much more closer conjunction to the knot. The knot, oh Jesus, yeah, this knot right here. It falls, it kind of falls more like right here. But the knot's at 29 degrees and the moon falls here at 25 degrees. Okay. Let's move on. All right, so a little bit about Pisces, even though we've kind of touched a lot about it and, you know, whatever, we're here. So Pisces is one of the 4 mutable signs. It's the most mutable of all of the mutable signs. The mutable signs are responsible for shifting us from one season into another. They're shifting, they're mutable, they're versatile, they're adapting. Now Pisces not only shifts us out of winter and into spring, but it also shifts us out of one zodiacal cycle and into another. It is the most mutable, the most shifting, the most nebulous of all of the mutable signs, which are all nebulous in their own way. This is mutable water. It is the archetype of the dual fish connected by that cord, with that knot being that 0 point between those two polarized forces. And it is the final sign of the zodiac, which births the start. It is traditionally ruled by Jupiter, and its modern ruler is Neptune. So Jupiter, which is right now over in Taurus, is the planet of growth, expansion. It's a societal planet like Saturn. Jupiter shows us how we grow through life to fulfill the potential of our birthright. Growth in this context means how we develop in response to the prevailing beliefs of society and to what extent we blend in with or challenge them. Ideals, opportunities, religious faith, wisdom, and our understanding of God, philosophy, and theoretical thought, as well as morality. So look and see where Taurus falls in your chart, what house that's in. That is where this ruling planet of Pisces is in right now. So this is the ruling planet of whatever house Pisces governs in your chart. In my case, Jupiter and Neptune are the ruling planets of my 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and marriage. So looking to see where both Jupiter and Neptune fall within my actual natal chart help give me a little bit of insight into that. And then also the transiting Jupiter and Neptune. Neptune is at home in Pisces right now. Jupiter is over in Taurus. So Neptune is the planet of unreality. We literally, as I am talking right now, Mercury, the planet of communication, information, the mind, the message, is conjunct Neptune. This is why we're talking about the realm of myth so much more than the fucking chart. Like, it's more in that realm of fantasy, mythology, unreality, right? This is the planet of unlimited possibilities and things we cannot touch or see. Neptune breaks down boundaries. It dissolves that keep us contained within the realities of the physical universe. It offers the promise of other realities, and in doing so, it fuels our dreams of transcendence, vision of the greater whole, heightened perception, inspiration, and imagination. The ideas it spawns are both universal and spiritual. But on the darker side, if we are reluctant to face the unconscious parts of ourselves, our Neptunian values become distorted, bringing confusion, deception, greed, deceit, loss, disillusionment, and a flight from reality through drugs, fantasy, or other forms of escapism. Pisces traditionally governs the 12th house. If you are an Aries rising, this moon will fall in your 12th house. If you are any other rising sign, it's going to fall somewhere else. But on a collective level, because we're in Pisces season, we're all kind of feeling these parts of our reality highlighted in some way, but we're probably having it funneled through whatever house Pisces falls in our chart. So like, yes, I'm feeling all of this, but I'm feeling it through my 7th house of relationships. You're feeling this, but you're feeling it through whatever house Pisces falls in for you. All right, so the 12th house is the unintegrated self, the unconscious self, the one that we project onto intimate relationships. It's the house of dreams, of hidden, of fears, of enemies. It's the house of breakdowns and sacrifice and service to a greater cause, a spiritual cause. It's the house of magic, spirituality, the unseen, secrets, dreams, visions, psychic senses, our need for withdrawal, privacy, the house of the hermit. This is the house of integration and transcendence, or one's own self-undoing. Like, are we going to be blinded in a rose bush in eternal agony because we don't let that part of ourselves die? Or are we going to transcend those parts of ourselves? We get to take our pick, right? Here are some herbs that are associated with Pisces: dandelion, oak, sage, and nutmeg. In the world, Pisces represents all that is spiritual in the world, all that is universal, all that is hidden, and all that is untangible. It also has connections to places of seclusion and confinement, like hospitals, institutions, as well as secret societies and the oil industry. Some of the more evolved aspects of Pisces that we're very much feeling right now is this energy that is artistic and kind and sympathetic and compassionate. It's creative. It has high levels of spiritual love, especially once Venus comes and joins the party, getting closer and closer and closer to the conjunction with Neptune. These are high levels of spiritual love. It's intuitive, it's visionary, it's sensitive, it's adaptable, it's receptive, magical, mystical. It's beyond this time-space continuum, so that time change can't fuck with it. It's very psychic. On its like lower octave, though, the sign can manifest as escapism, being extremely ungrounded. So it's nice that we have Saturn there. It's also nice that that fixed star of the saddle is said to give us stability, right? Because this energy can be extremely ungrounded. It can manifest as confusion, greed, immorality, fear, or being easily led astray. It's boundaryless. It's careless, it's impractical, overly sensitive, gullible, submissive. It can have emotional breakdowns and in some cases even psychosis. Okay. This is from the Honeycomb Planner on Pisces. It says, I am the omniscience that suffuses all space. I receive and transmit potent poetries from unseen realms, offering them back to the mystery. I am a sacred mirror, an eternal wellspring. The wellspring, that's where the Pegasus is found. And a fog that enchants the world with grace. All right, to the chart. What time is it? Oh my God, it's almost 11. Oh my gosh. All right, well, we're going to talk about the chart, but there's not really much to talk about. Okay, so there's not many aspects to the moon in general, but there are like accompanying energies that I want to discuss. All right, so we have the sun and moon here at 20 degrees of Pisces within a 7-degree orb to Neptune here at 27 degrees of Pisces. Neptune is in an exact square to both the galactic center and the pole star. Pole star a little bit later. It's exact on the 13th, a couple of days after the moon, but it's within orb, has been within orb. This is its third and final pass because of its retrograde cycle. Neptune has been doing this dance with the galactic center and the pole star, that area of the sky that I refer to as the axis mundi, the center of everything, the source of all life, that which that circumpolar goddess is associated with, that primordial goddess, that stillness that everything rotates around, including the square of the seasons, right? This is that source of all life. And right now, Neptune at the depths of the zodiac is sitting in a square to these points. This is a very psychic placement. Like, our dreams are just next level. Oh my God, my dream last night was so weird. It was so weird that I was like, I woke up, I was like, wow, that was weird. There's no way I'm going to forget that, but I did forget it. I don't remember what it was about, but I remember my mom, something with my mom. I don't know. It was fucking weird. So anyway, brand new beginning starting here that is seeding this upcoming eclipse. All right. Neptune is in a square to these very pivotal parts of the zodiac, and Mercury, which today is conjunct Neptune, but by the time of the moon, it will be at 0 degrees of Aries at that equinox degree in opposition to the super galactic center, that source of super consciousness that sits at that point of the chart that is a balance between yin and yang, light and dark, day and night. And our mind, the message, the realm of information is just starting a new chapter. It's at 0 degrees of Aries, right at the start of the zodiac, and it is being supercharged by, of course, the super moon, but really this opposition to the super galactic center. It is also conjunct some interesting asteroids. And Neptune, it's conjunct Neptune. It's a little bit of an orb. It's out of sign. And then it's conjunct these two asteroids here, which are Magdalena and Alexandria. So if you go back to the last Pisces supermoon video that we did 6 months ago for the Pisces full moon, we talked a lot about Mary Magdalene in that video. Refer back to that for the whole breakdown on the myth. We read a little bit out of the bloodline of the Holy Grail. We talk about how the scriptures talk about her not only being very important to Jesus through his own eyes and his own words, but that she was also most likely married to him and impregnated at the time of his death and resurrection. This area of the sky is all about death and resurrection, right? And that she was the first one to see him after said resurrection. And the things that she is said to have done to him, the anointings and things like that, were only ever done after conceptions. We dive all into this in the video. But it's interesting that she is here once again, and she is here at the area of the chart that has to do with that resurrection of spring. And I think this is going to be maybe a resurrection of information or knowledge, or some sort of message, because Mercury, which governs all of those things, is not only conjunct Magdalena, but it's also conjunct the asteroid Alexandria, which has to do with this like lost, ancient, sacred knowledge, this wisdom that has been lost to time and that needs to be resurrected. And it can only be resurrected through our own personal dives into the spiritual psychic dimension and our own personal hero's journey, these deaths and rebirths, these coming more and more and more into alignment with truth through each trek around the zodiac, right? Each one of these personal quests. Okay, let me just see what I'm talking about here. So Mary Magdalene may be an avenue for that message, for that lost, ancient, sacred knowledge. It may be innately feminine. It may be rooted in the feminine mysteries that have been erased, inverted, or lost to time, and often really do revolve around the diving into the psychic waters, the intuitive, psychic, magical dimension, and then also this realm of union with the other half of us within, and then union often with an other without, which is what is mirrored here on this axis of Aries Libra, where our eclipses are right now, which we will be heading into eclipse season after this moon. This is the last new moon, the last lunation before we enter into our Libra eclipse, followed by our Aries eclipse. Okay, so the main aspect to this moon is a sextile to Uranus. All right, Uranus is here at 19 degrees of Taurus in a sextile to the moon. So a sextile is similar to a trine. It's harmonious, it's free-flowing, but when planets trine each other, they're just working together. There's no effort that really needs to be put into the two planets working together, like a symbiotic type relationship. A sextile, those planets too really want to work together, but it requires a little bit of effort on our part in order for that harmony to come forth, right? So Uranus is all about liberation. It's all about freedom. It's all about new. It's all about the future. It's unpredictable. It's erratic, but it is progressive, and it wants to free us and liberate us from stagnant systems in order to propel us into the new, right? So we have Jupiter inching closer and closer and closer to Uranus. You'll have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction here in this house next month on April 20th. So we're having a huge new chapter start here. Something that's going to be building over the next 12 years in whatever area of your life Taurus governs. And this narrative wants to work harmoniously with not only this next eclipse series we're heading into, the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle, but particularly this new moon and the saddle of that hero's journey. Now, Uranus is working harmoniously with this moon, but at the same time, it is sitting in a square to Mars. All right, so Mars squares Uranus. It's exact tomorrow on the 9th, the day before the moon. And this brings frustration. It brings a chaotic type of energy. You want to definitely look and see where Aquarius falls in your chart and where Taurus falls in your chart, because these two houses are going to need to find some sort of compromise, okay? We have Mars, the planet of action, drive, motivation coming into, like, squaring off with Uranus, the planet of individuality and freedom and progress and liberation. Now, which is unpredictable and erratic and just can really manifest as anything. Now they're squaring off with each other, and they will need to find some sort of compromise. There's a tension here. There's a conflict here that is going to force us into action. It's going to force us into action in some way in order to rectify this tension that we're feeling. Look and see what houses these fall in, and it'll probably immediately come to mind, if not tomorrow, when it really boils up and shows its head, right? So we're really going to be feeling that strongly over the weekend leading up into the moon, and even like the days that follow. This is a tension, but this moon wants to work harmoniously with Uranus, the liberator, the rebel. He is a hero in his own right. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, where Mars is right now, and archetypally it has a strong connection to Prometheus, that who stole fire from the gods and gave it to the humans. He is this hero, especially with Mars here in Aquarius. This is a hero for humanity. These are actions for our collective future. These are actions, especially with Mars in Aquarius and this moon here in Pisces. These are actions in regards to alignment with a more spiritually focused future. Okay. Okay, let me see what else we got here. Okay, so Venus here at 28 degrees at the time of the moon is conjunct a black hole in Cygnus, Cygnus X3, one of many black holes that falls here in Aquarius. And it aligns here with this black hole before it then moves into Pisces the day after the moon. So Venus is being supercharged right now. It's being supercharged by a black hole, which is a source of super consciousness. It's a sun that has lived out its life as a sun. It has gone supernova. It has pierced the fabric of the space-time continuum and is aligned with a source of singularity with the divine, right? Venus, the planet of love, the planet of relationships, the planet of balance and harmony and art and beauty and aesthetic, is being supercharged right now, right before it enters into the sign of its exaltation, right before we head into a Libra eclipse season, which Venus is the ruling planet of Libra. Relationship dynamics, values, finances, all of these will be of focus, especially with this here in Taurus, which brings in the finances, right? But Venus is being supercharged. She's having a spiritual rebirth right now. Particularly the days leading after the moon as it moves here into Pisces. But right now at the time of the moon, it's aligned with that black hole. All right, so this moon is not only in a sextile to Uranus, but it is also in a square to the part of fortune. All right, so the part of fortune is a Arabic point. I just want to see what it says here for in Sag. Life is enriched when you live life to the fullest. You will experience joy through freedom and new adventures. So the part of fortune is an Arabic point. It's a mathematical point that is associated with our fortune, success, how we can find joy and happiness. And it is sitting in a square to this lunation at the time of this lunation, which is March 10th, 2024 at 1 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, by the way. And it is also sitting in a square to the asteroid Medusa. So Medusa is here conjunct the part of fortune. So we find our fortune much like Perseus did, saving his mom, saving Medusa, saving Andromeda, giving the healing blood to the physician. He found his fortune, his long life, his happiness, his immortality in the stars through the alchemization of Medusa's core feminine wound, which we all have. He freed the monster in the cave. He transmuted it into something else, right? And so Medusa is here in Sagittarius, conjunct the part of fortune. Look and see where Sag is for you, what house this is in. Maybe if you have any planets aligned with that. That is also in a square to this moon. And so some sort of action will need to be taken in order to transmute that Medusa archetype into your fortune, right? And that action will involve some sort of intention or manifestation or something set into motion at the time of this new moon, ideally. Or you can just keep feeling the tension and the conflict, but usually squares force you into action. They're designed to lead to action. Okay. It's also sitting opposite Black Moon Lilith, and of course the Earth, because the Earth is always opposite the moon, and Sophia, which is retrograde. So whenever something is sitting in opposition to something else, it is seeking balance. It is seeking some sort of middle ground, right? There needs to be a sort of balance between these two opposing forces. Some sort of resolution needs to come forth, right? And so this moon is seeking to integrate and balance, obviously, the more repressed parts of the psyche, which the 12th house and Pisces governs. And then also, Black Moon Lily represents the nether reaches of the repressed parts of ourselves and our psyche. Look and see where Virgo falls in your chart. This may be where some of those repressed parts are coming to the surface right now as Black Moon Lilith transits through Virgo. It's also here with Sophia. Sophia is the primordial goddess. She is the pre-conscious realm. She is the collective unconscious that gave way to the conscious creator. And she has since been forgotten or lost or sleeping and is waiting for us to remember her or find her or awaken her. She represents Lilith represents the repressed parts of the psyche. Sophia represents the primordial, pre-conscious psyche, the pre-manifested psyche that can manifest into anything and has, much like Pisces. That's where we merge back with the whole, right? And so we have both of these like darker goddess archetypes opposite this new moon, and those are what are seeking integration, right? The repressed, the forgotten, the sleeping feminine parts of ourselves, the chained parts of ourselves, the monsters in the cave, right? Neptune square, the axis Mundi. Okay. We didn't spend too much time on the chart this time because I wasn't planning on going all into Bellephone's freaking mythology, but then I just kept reading it and it was so interesting, and so I wrote it all down and then we talked about it. All right, I pulled some cards. The cards tell the exact same story that I just told here and now, as it usually does. It does a great job of summarizing everything. So I'm going to come over here and read the cards. I didn't take pictures of them. Sorry, guys. My phone is full. I can't take pictures right now. Okay, so I always pull an archetype card. And then I've been looking a lot at the bottom of the deck to get a little bit more insight into said archetype. So the card I pulled is the womb. No surprise there. Pisces season literally is the cosmic womb that births the seed of spring, of Aries. And then, you guys, you can't make this shit up. So this was the card at the top of the deck. And this was the card at the bottom of the deck. The seed. Like, what the fuck? These cards never let me down, you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and read these from the book. We are in the cosmic womb. We are planting our seeds for spring. These are fated, destined seeds that are entangled in our next eclipse season, but that you have a little bit of say in now, co-creatively, right? All right, the womb. Love this deck, you guys. This is like the best deck ever. You guys know, you've seen it like a million times. I will use this deck until the day I die, probably. The womb. Okay. The womb. The nest, the belly, the origin. Everything has an origin story. The womb archetype asks us to contemplate the beginning beyond the beginning. The mother beyond the mother. That's like Sophia represents that too. In a world that often negates the power and necessity of the feminine principles, this card returns us to the warmth, tenderness, and sacred intelligence from which we came. It is a card of receiving, not achieving, of accepting love from the mother of us all. She is the life-giving force that forgives and cherishes even the most wounded and desperate soul. No matter how lost you are, the womb awaits your return to help you heal and grow. That's very much where we are right now. This card is a call to keep things simple, to return, to be reborn in the name of love, especially with Venus moving in. The womb is everywhere. It is beyond gender, beyond time. We are within it as it is within us. Consider that Mother Earth must also have a mother. Imagine her. What would honoring the feminine look like to you? Where would you begin? Imagining yourself as loved is a good place to start. When this archetype is evolved, it is nourishment, harmony, warmth, and love. But in its lower archetype, it can be stricken, ecological crisis, or an imbalance. Okay? All right, so we've got, you literally see like the seed in the womb, and then the exact same seed is like right here. Hold on. It's like a little pearl. So we're going to go ahead and read this one. I should have taken a picture. It's much prettier when I take a picture. My Libra placements like it better. The seed. Or make sure you guys plant your seeds. The beginning, the origin, the pearl. Beginnings come in many forms. They are not always a beautiful seed placed intentionally in nourishing soil. Origin stories, like any birth story, are complex, surprising, multi-layered, and usually reveal a central image or detail that represents the fully formed being. Simply stated, the end is present in the beginning, or the entire oak tree resides within the acorn. Whether you follow this imaginable theory or not, know that when this card appears, there is potent generative energy all around. It stirs your very insides and usually results in an angsty, impatient feeling, especially when Mars is square Uranus. Pay particular attention to what agitates you, as it is a sure sign of growth to come. You are bumping up against a growth edge. It is from the grit that the pearl eventually comes to be. One of the alchemist's favorite images was the pearl. The irritant over time becomes the treasure. What is your grit? Oh, that is a really good thing to think of when we have Mars square Uranus, because that is tension. It is irritating. So I'm going to read this again. One of the alchemist's favorite images was the pearl. The irritant over time becomes the treasure. What is your grit? The true seed is elusive. If we follow any story towards its origin, it spirals farther and farther back in time. In this way, we are always the seed and always the fruit it bears, like the myth that we just explored, you know? This archetype is generative, fertile, germinating, and building. But in its lower archetype, it can manifest as festering, stewing, or it could be dormant. And it says to go deeper, you can read James Hillman's acorn theory in The Soul's Code. Whatever that is. Probably one of his books. Okay. One more card. So we're in the womb and we were gestating that seed of rebirth of spring, right? How can we best do this? And so I pulled a card from the other deck, the Wild Harmonic Oracle, and the card that came out is, I just pulled this from my client the other day, Celestial of Celestial, Immaculate Imperfection. I love this card. I'll go ahead and read this from the book and then we'll call it a night. Okay. As the celestial realms meet themselves, they come to realize that variety, imperfection, is the greater perfection than otherwise. The beauty of imperfection, accepting things as they are, opening to opportunities, and being easy on oneself. A card of finding balance in imbalance, depth within shallows, and light within darkness. It reminds me to write nothing off as invalid, for all is a part of the grand unfolding. There is no symmetry in life other than that which we may temporarily find. Forces great and small push and pull me from all directions, never giving me a sense of perfect center. So I find perfect center everywhere, equally within the turmoil as within the calm. Inquiry. How can I let go of my ideas of perfection in order to open to an even deeper balance? Okay. The ruling planet of Pisces, Neptune, is in a square to the galactic center and the pole star. Those are those points of oneness, of balance, of centeredness. The Axis Mundi that we are working to try to activate, make sure you watch my Axis Mundi video over on YouTube, please. Once you activate that center within you, once you find your northern star, then you have that center equally within the turmoil as within the calm. We have a brief period of balance at that 0 degree point of Aries, and then again at the 0 degree point of Libra for a brief moment at the equinox before it then gives way to either the dark or the light. True balance, true equilibrium is elusive, but you can always find that within yourself, and then nothing can throw you off kilter, right? And this is perfect for a Pisces moon, because opposite Pisces is Virgo, the sign of obsessive perfection, right? And Pisces is where they see the bigger picture and they see that everything is already perfect. And everything is just part of this grand unfolding, right? And so this moon is part of this grand unfolding. Seeds are being planted that are going to culminate in really big ways, really big eclipse ways 6 months from now. And so make sure that you sit in this saddle with some intention, right? Don't fly up to Mount Olympus in a hubris display of egotism. And if you do, make sure you let yourself die on the way down. Otherwise, you will be in perpetual turmoil if you just hold on to the ego that wants to fucking die. Something is dying within you so that you can be reborn anew. This is a deeply mystical, spiritual, psychically activated moon. It is in a square to Uranus, the mad genius, the planet of clear cognizant downloads of information, and is in the realm of the dreamscape, conjunct Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, which is in a square to the Axis Mundi. Like, we are being profoundly activated right now. Take advantage of it and don't let the time change fuck you up too much. I know some of you probably aren't experiencing it if you live in like Arizona or something like that, but some of us are, and it fucks with me every time. So I'm trying to tell myself, doesn't matter. We're in Pisces season. It's beyond time and space. So you're psyopy messing with our circadian rhythms. Not that mine is healthy in the least bit. I have a very bad sleep schedule. but messing with our equilibrium, messing with this moment of balance, this moment of harmony right around the equinox can affect us because we are in the realm that is beyond time and space. It is multidimensional, and this little earth clock ain't got nothing on it. So have a great new moon. I will see you guys later. I am playing catch up. It has been so crazy over here. One thing after another. A lot of like family stuff and things that just keep taking my attention away. So I know there are many of you guys, so many of you guys waiting for your replays of your sessions. They just knocked something down that definitely sounded like it broke. The cats. I'm going to get them to you. I promise. I did that huge sale, and I have just like a major backlog of things I need to send. And then, of course, I tell each and every one of you that I'm going to, I'll send you this. Oh, I'll send you that. Oh, I'll send you this. So I have to go back to all the notes and see what I said to all you people so I can make sure to send you all the things I said that I was going to send you. And it just feels like a very monumental task, and I have just not gone around to it. So I promise you that it is coming. Also, I'm launching the new YouTube thing, and what else was there? The YouTube thing's launching. I promise I'm sending you all of your things. All of the sessions have already been scheduled for March. But I do think I have like one or two spots still available towards like mid-March if you guys want to book a session. But then I'm taking all of eclipse season off, and I won't be doing sessions again until after April 10th. So if you want to grab one of those 2 spots, grab them now. Otherwise, there won't be anything until like mid-April. Because I need to catch up. I really need to catch up and breathe. I think that's it. Have a great new moon and do very magical things. And I will see you guys later. Bye. You guys like my shirt? My mom made it. Isn't it cute? I think I'm going to try to put them on the website. I like it. All right, guys. Have a great one, and I'll see you later. Bye. Okay, hold on. Sophia. Hey, Allie, which program were you using before? Okay, this is... Let me show you. This is Solar Fire. This is Solar Fire. And I mean, it looks probably different than any time you've ever seen Solar Fire because I make it my green and pink colors. You are welcome. Thank you, Sophia. Oh yeah, Sophia! And it's opposite Sophia. How interesting. I wonder if you have any... Is Sophia conjunct anything in your chart right now? I know we just did a session, but I can't remember. Okay, yeah, this is Solar Fire. And I have a lot of add-ons here in Solar Fire. I have the asteroid add-on. I had just got... Let me show you guys this. I'm still trying to learn how to do it. I don't really know. But I just got... Oh, I forgot. I wanted to show you guys this. Okay, hold on. Look it. So, I don't really know what this means because I'm not well versed in astrocartography. Where did I write this down at? Oh, right here. Okay, so this, I want to zoom out. Why does it zoom in? All right, good enough. All right, so I zoomed in already. But this is the astrocartography, the solar maps chart for the lunation. Now, the culminating midheaven line of the sun and the moon and Neptune and Mercury and the IC of Black Moon Lilith all run through Iran. The sun and moon lines run through Iran, as does Neptune and Mercury. I don't know. Maybe we keep an eye on the Middle East. That's not like a crazy prophecy or anything there. Definitely gonna be seeing big things out of that area for a while now, but I just found this interesting. I randomly clicked on this and I saw that. They also all run through Russia up there as well, which is up higher, but I don't know how to see. Yeah, I guess that's Russia up there. See, I don't know how to really use it, and it always zooms in and it glitches out. But then also, it also does this. So I just got this galactic thing. but it's not in here. So I put it in and it's supposed to work. This is the planetarium. And it's supposed to have all of these new, I got it only to work one time and now I can't figure out how I did it again. I have no idea. But I'm supposed to have a whole list here of all these black holes and quasars and pulsars and all of this stuff. I only got it to work one time. And you like click on the different dots. So like, let's find where the moon is. This is just the fixed stars here. But you can see how it's like shows you where it is on the ecliptic. Hold on, let me just get to Pisces. Okay, so here's the new moon here in Pisces, and here above the ecliptic, this is one of the stars that it has close. So this is the Pegasus star, Beta Pegasus, and this software says that it is associated with being a thinker or associated with the intellect. Traditionally seen as a very negative star, but it seems to be predominant in the charts of famous free-thinking people. Different ideas, fast thinking, daring to think or to do the impossible. Neptune is conjunct this right now. And I think it's funny that they call this a negative star when it's literally about people thinking for themselves. But anyway, been playing with this. I'm supposed to do more stuff, but I don't know how to do it. This software is so hard to use, Sophia. It does a bunch of things, so many things that it overwhelms me and I hardly know how to use it, but it's the only place that has everything I need right now. I really like Luna, but I'm just waiting for them to add the fixed stars and the galactic points, which they are working on. I got them to do the asteroids already. All 23,000. They're the only one who has all the asteroids, and they're the only one who has it very easy to use. But I'm talking with them. They're in the process of adding the rest, hopefully before the module in my course, Sophia, which I know you are a part of, where we will be covering the galactic points and the fixed stars. But I'm also going to make us a really great PDF, so you won't even need software. Yeah, solar fire. I love it, but I also hate it. Like, I hate it a lot. Like, a lot. I really hate it. But I like that I can make it pink and green. Alright, guys. I don't have that setting yet. Oh, you have... Wait. Also, much good. Yes, I'm going to grab one. Oh, wow. I don't have that setting yet. The setting on solar fire? Do you have solar fire? I paid the Esoteric Technologies to have the like add-on for the asteroids, and then I got the Galactic one add-on from Philip Sedgwick. Look him up. He is a fabulous deep space astrologer. I think I maybe told you about him during our session. He wrote this book right at the top of my thing called Astrology of Deep Space, and he wrote this like in the 80s. He's a fabulous astrologer. He doesn't really have any social media that I know of, but he has a really great email newsletter that is always so insightful, and a really great website resource. And he made the Galactic add-on for solar fire, so I just bought that for myself for Christmas, and I've been trying to figure it out, but I don't really know what I'm doing, so bear with me. I'll figure it out someday. But yeah, I like that it's pink and green, and that it has the galactic points. But I don't know how I added them in, and I can't recreate that. Like, I literally can't. I have no idea how I did it. I have to try to figure it out before I try to teach you guys in that module of the course. Alright, guys, have a great night, and I will see you all later. Bye. See, you said I'm so overwhelmed with solar fire. Yeah. So I have a video on YouTube, a tutorial on the Luna software, which we used in class, in the course, Sophia. And in that tutorial, I have this whole spiel about all of the reasons why I hate solar fire, why it is so overwhelming, why I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just so burdensome. I feel like even when you have to, Sophia, even when you have to put one of these add-ons into the software, like you literally, I feel like I have to code. You have to go in and find all these folders in your computer. Apparently, like, your computer holds all these files just to run this program, and you have to, like, go and find these very specific obscure files that I didn't even know were on my computer and add things into them so that it will then work in certain parts on the software. Like, my planetarium didn't work for years because I had it in the wrong folder, and I had to call them and they had to, like, walk me through it. It's a freaking nightmare. It's so expensive. It's like $300-$400. It's so expensive. It's crazy. I started first with Solar Writer, which is one of their programs where, like, it writes reports. I'm going to send you one of the reports when I finally send you your session, Sophia. But don't tell them, but I got it for free because my dad found it bootleg on the internet back when I was poor and broke and just starting out, and I started